Love is not possession. Love is not control. True love protects, it never destroys. In the end, Olivia mistook obsession for love, and it consumed her. But Noah's story is a reminder. When we choose truth, courage, and compassion, even the darkest flames can't take away our light. 48 hours earlier, I was the happiest woman in Miami. I was 27, a pediatric nurse who still believed in miracles, and I thought I was about to marry the man of my dreams, Jacob Miller. Tall, sharp-jawed, with the kind of confidence that made people lean in when he spoke. He came from old money. His family ran one of the most prestigious investment firms in Florida. But what made me fall for him wasn't the tuxedos, or the yachts, or the Miller last name. It was the way he used to bring flowers to my mom every Sunday dinner. The way he remembered my father's fishing stories. The way he made me feel seen. We met at a charity gala 3 years ago. He spilled champagne down the front of my dress, turned beet red, and wouldn't stop apologizing until I let him buy me coffee. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekend trips. Weekend trips turned into moving in together. Felt effortless. Felt right. And of course there was Madison Clark. My best friend since kindergarten. We lived 3 houses apart growing up, rode our bikes down the same cracked sidewalks, and shared every dream 2 little girls could imagine. She planned my engagement party. She organized my bachelorette weekend. She picked the blush pink bridesmaid dresses with me, sipping wine and laughing late into the night. She always said, "We're basically sisters. Being your maid of honor will just make it official." Everyone loved Jacob. My mom adored how he always asked about her book club. My father nicknamed him Champ and invited him fishing. Even my brother, who hated every guy I ever dated, let Jacob join his poker nights. Madison loved him most of all. Looking back, there were signs. The way she lingered when Jacob was around. The way her eyes followed him when she thought I wasn't looking. But I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid. After all, this was my best friend. My sister in everything but blood. So on my wedding day, I walked down that aisle believing I had it all. A loyal best friend at my side. A man who'd promised forever waiting at the altar. A family bursting with pride. What I didn't know was that both of them were hiding a truth sharp enough to tear my entire world apart. Started small. The kind of things you brush off because love makes excuses faster than the brain does. Jacob began working late more often. He'd leave in his tailored suit, promising endless meetings at the firm. But his tie would be crooked when he came home. His cologne faintly mixed with something floral that wasn't mine. When his phone buzzed at dinner, he'd flip it face down on the table. "Work stuff," he'd say with that easy smile. Except, investment clients don't usually text at midnight. Then there was the credit card statement. Tiny charges scattered across Miami. Cafes I'd never been to, gas stations miles away from his office, a jewelry store purchase that he brushed off as a surprise for later. I wanted to believe him. So I did. And Madison, my so-called sister, she was always around. Dropping by our apartment after my night shifts. Saying she just wanted to hang out with Jacob. Lingering in the kitchen long after I'd gone to bed. She even started texting me at odd hours. "Thinking about you at 2 a.m. Hope your shift's okay." Sweet, right? Except 2 a.m. was when I was knee-deep in charts at the hospital. And Jacob was home. Alone. 3 weeks before the wedding, I found an empty pregnancy test box in our bathroom trash. My heart nearly stopped. When I asked Jacob, he laughed nervously. Swore it must have been left behind by my sister during a visit. My sister denied it flat out. I wanted to push harder. But instead, I convinced myself housekeeping must have tossed it in by mistake. The night of the rehearsal dinner, Jacob kept sneaking glances at Madison. And Madison. She was glowing, almost electric, like she was carrying some secret too big to hide. When I teased her about looking flushed, she snapped, "I'm fine. Just tired from all the planning." But the look Jacob gave her when she left the room. It wasn't the look of a man tired from wedding stress. It was the look of a man holding on to something forbidden. Still, I silenced every alarm bell in my chest. 'Cause the next day was my wedding day. And I thought love was enough to drown out the noise. I woke up at 6 a.m. on my wedding day with butterflies fluttering in my stomach. The good kind. The kind that felt like Christmas morning and the first day of summer vacation all rolled into one. The house was alive with noise. My mom frying breakfast burritos in the kitchen, my sister Layla setting up a coffee station with military precision, relatives calling every 5 minutes asking for directions to the venue. It was chaos, but it was the sweetest kind. At exactly 7 o'clock, the front door swung open and there she was, Madison, my maid of honor, my best friend since kindergarten. She swept in like a magazine cover, hair in perfect waves, makeup already flawless, holding a tray of fancy lattes. "Triple shot vanilla for the bride," she sang, pressing the cup into my trembling hands. "We need you caffeinated and gorgeous." I laughed, hugging her. "You're an angel." She kissed my cheek, smiled wide. But when she thought no one was looking, her phone lit up. She slipped it under the table, thumbs flying across the screen. By noon, the bridal suite looked like a battlefield of curling irons, hairspray clouds, and half-eaten pastries. My cousins snapped photos of me in my gown, layers of silk and pearls that my mom and I had spent 8 months saving for. My father walked in, saw me fully dressed and whispered, "Mija, you look like a queen." His eyes brimmed with tears. For a moment everything was perfect, but the cracks kept showing. Madison disappeared for nearly 20 minutes when I asked her to check if Jacob had taken his allergy medication. When she came back, her lipstick was smudged and her hair slightly undone, like someone had run their fingers through it. "Everything okay?" "Yes." "Perfect," she answered quickly, eyes darting away. By 3 o'clock, guests were filing into the church. 200 people, family, colleagues, neighbors, all there to witness what was supposed to be my happy ending. Jacob's family gleamed in navy suits and pearls on the right side. My family filled the left with bright colors, loud laughter, and enough perfume to choke a horse. When the wedding coordinator knocked on our door, "Ladies, it's showtime," my heart soared. I took my father's arm, inhaled the scent of roses and old wood, and thought, this is it. This is forever. What I didn't know was that forever was about to collapse before I even said, "I do." The ballroom glittered under chandeliers, every polished floor tile reflecting golden light. A string quartet played softly as I clutched my father's arm, walking slowly toward the altar. 200 guests rose to their feet, smiling through tears, phones discreetly raised to capture the moment. And there he was, Jacob Miller, waiting in his perfectly cut tuxedo. He looked pale, nervous, but when his eyes met mine, I swore I saw love. My chest swelled. This was it. The forever I dreamed of. The pastor lifted his worn Bible. "We are gathered here today to witness the union of Jacob Miller and Emily Carter in holy matrimony." I squeezed Jacob's hands. His palms were sweaty. My heart hammered with joy. "Do you, Jacob, take Emily to be your lawfully wedded wife for better or worse? Till death do you part?" "I do," Jacob whispered, his voice cracking. The pastor turned to me. "Do you, Emily, take Jacob?" And then it happened. "Stop." The voice cut through the sacred silence like a blade. Every head snapped toward the front row of bridesmaids. Madison Clark, my maid of honor, my best friend of 20 years, was on her feet. Her blush satin dress shimmered under the lights, but her face was twisted into something unrecognizable. "I can't let this happen," she declared, her voice echoing to every corner of the ballroom. "Emily, you need to know the truth." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My father half rose from his seat. My mother clutched his arm, whispering prayers under her breath. Madison's eyes locked onto mine, burning with defiance. "I'm pregnant," she announced, placing a hand on her stomach. "And Jacob is the father." The music stopped mid-note. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," loud enough for everyone to hear. My bouquet felt suddenly heavy in my hands. The room, glowing just moments ago, turned cold, stark, suffocating. Every guest was staring at me, waiting for me to crumble. But I didn't. Instead, something sharp and icy slid into my chest. Smiled. Not the smile of a bride in love, but the smile of a predator who'd been waiting for her prey to step into the trap. The silence didn't last long. Jacob's face drained of color, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. "Madison, don't." "Don't what?" she snapped, stepping closer to the altar. Her voice grew louder, stronger, carried by adrenaline and righteous fury. "Don't tell Emily that you've been sneaking into my apartment for months. Don't tell her you swore you were having second thoughts about marrying her. Don't tell her that you whispered you loved me while she was busy planning your fairy tale wedding." The crowd erupted in gasps and whispers. "Lies!" Jacob's voice cracked. "She's lying, Emily." He reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. His eyes darted wildly, sweat breaking across his forehead. Madison's lips curled into a triumphant smile. "Face it, Emily. You were always the consolation prize. Jacob settled for you because I wouldn't commit. But now that I'm carrying his child, everything changes." She rested her hand on her stomach for effect, her eyes glittering with victory. From the pews, my brother Ethan shot to his feet, his face red with rage. "I'll kill him." My sister grabbed his arm, holding him back as guests surged to their feet, phones already out, recording every second of the scandal. The string quartet fumbled, then stopped playing altogether. The only sounds were frantic whispers rippling across the ballroom, like a storm gaining strength. Jacob's voice cracked under the pressure. "Emily, please, she's twisting everything. You have to believe me." But even as he begged, he wouldn't look me in the eye. His shoulders shook, his hands trembled, and the truth hung between us like smoke we could all smell but no one dared name. Madison stepped closer, her heels clicking like a war drum. "Don't bother, Jacob. It's over. Everyone here deserves to know what kind of man you really are." And just like that, the wedding I'd dreamed of since childhood had transformed into a public courtroom. Madison was the prosecutor, Jacob the panicked defendant, and I was the silent judge, smiling like I already knew the verdict. The ballroom was boiling with chaos, guests shouting, phones recording, whispers slicing the air like knives. Madison stood tall at the altar, her smirk shining with triumph. Jacob looked like he was seconds from collapsing, and me just smiled. A calm, deliberate smile that froze Madison mid-sentence. "Oh, Madison," I said, my voice cutting clear through the noise. "You poor, delusional little girl." Her smirk faltered. The crowd hushed. For the first time, she looked uncertain. I reached into my bouquet and pulled out my phone. With a single swipe, the Bluetooth system we'd installed for the reception clicked on. The speakers crackled. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, my voice carrying over the stunned congregation. "Before we continue this little performance, I think you should all hear something." Madison's eyes widened. "Emily, what are you doing?" And then her own voice echoed across the ballroom. "God, Jacob is such an idiot. He has no idea I've been sleeping with his brother and his best man. The pregnancy could be any of theirs, but Jacob makes the most money. Obviously, he's my best bet." The room gasped in unison. Jacob's mother covered her mouth. My father muttered a curse under his breath. Someone dropped their champagne glass. It shattered across the marble floor. Madison's face drained of color. That's not real," she stammered. But the recording continued, crystal clear. The best part. Emily is so naive she doesn't suspect a thing. She's literally paying for half her own humiliation. Laughter, her laughter, echoed off the chandeliers, cruel and venomous. Madison dropped to her knees, mascara streaking her cheeks. "Emily, please, I can explain." I tilted my head, shark, like savoring the silence before my strike. "Oh, don't worry, Madison," I said sweetly. "You'll have plenty of time to explain. To the police, to the DNA lab, and to my lawyer." Gasps exploded around us. Jacob's face went pale as marble. Guests erupted into frantic chatter, some cheering, some shouting, all of them riveted. And for the first time that day the power shifted. I was no longer the betrayed bride. I was the hunter, and they were trapped in my net. The ballroom was dead silent except for the echo of Madison's own laughter still playing from the speakers. She was on her knees, trembling. Jacob looked like a man drowning with no shore in sight. I let the silence breathe for a moment, long enough for every eye to lock on me. Then slowly I reached into my bouquet again. "Since we're sharing secrets today," I said, my voice steady, "perhaps it's time for one more." I unfolded a crisp white envelope, the official seal gleaming under the chandeliers. Gasps whispered through the room. People recognized what it was before I even spoke. "A paternity test," I explained, holding it high. "Conducted just last week." Madison's head snapped up, horror flashing across her face. "No, you wouldn't." "Oh, but I did," I cut in smoothly. "And the results are clear." I read aloud, my voice slicing through the room. 0% probability that Jacob Miller is the father. Jacob's knees buckled. His mother let out a strangled cry. And yet, I paused for effect, scanning the crowd until my eyes found him. 99% probability that the father is Ryan Miller. Every head turned toward Jacob's younger brother, standing stiff in the groomsmen line. Ryan went pale, his jaw slack. Beside him, his fiancée Rachel shot to her feet, her face crumpling with rage. "You slept with her," Rachel screamed. Her voice cracked like a whip across the ballroom. "At your brother's wedding, while you were engaged to me." Ryan stammered. "Rachel, I can explain." But Rachel shoved past the pew, storming toward the exit, tears streaming. The chaos rippled further when I added, almost casually, "Oh, and Ryan wasn't the only one. According to this recording." I tapped my phone, and Madison's voice filled the air again. "His best man too. Michael couldn't keep his hands off me. Honestly, it's hilarious. Half the wedding party fighting over me, and none of them realizing I'm the one pulling the strings." Gasps turned into shouts. Guests craned their necks toward Michael Torres, the best man, who stiffened like he'd been struck. His wife, seated near the front, went rigid. "You," she hissed, her voice shaking with fury. "Tell me it's not true." Michael's silence was answer enough. His wife burst into sobs, her sister trying to hold her back as she lunged at him. The entire ballroom dissolved into chaos. Rachel screaming at Ryan, Michael's wife sobbing uncontrollably, guests shouting in English and Spanish, dozens of phones raised high to capture every second of the scandal. And me. I stood calmly in the middle of the storm, wedding gown glowing under the chandeliers, the eye of the hurricane. I had all the evidence. I had all the power. And I wasn't done yet. The ballroom was chaos incarnate. Rachel screaming at Ryan, Michael's wife trying to claw her way to the altar, guests shouting in disbelief while dozens of phones streamed live to the world. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. I raised my hand, and the room hushed just enough for my voice to cut through. "You think this is just about betrayal?" I asked calmly. "No. This is about crimes." I reached into my bouquet one last time and pulled out a slim folder. The Miller family crest on the cover made Jacob's face collapse into pure panic. "Inside this folder," I said, flipping it open, "is proof of embezzlement, fraud, and identity theft." Collective gasp. The kind that makes your skin prickle. "Jacob," I continued, my eyes locking on him, "you forged my signature to take out a second mortgage on our apartment, $50,000 I never authorized. Madison, you opened 3 credit cards in my name, maxed them out on shopping sprees and weekend getaways, then dumped the bills on me." Madison let out a strangled sob. "That's not true." I slapped down photocopies of bank statements on the altar. "It's all true. Every transaction, every fake document. I've been working with Detective Harris for the past 3 months. He has the originals. And he's been waiting for my signal." As if on cue, the wail of sirens cut through the air, echoing outside the ballroom. Heads whipped toward the tall glass doors. 2 uniformed officers and a detective in plain clothes strode in, their footsteps heavy on the marble. Gasps turned into shrieks. Phones shot higher into the air, capturing history in real time. "Madison Clark, Jacob Miller," Detective Harris called out, his voice booming. "You're both under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and identity theft." The congregation exploded. Half were shouting encouragement, the other half were screaming in shock. Jacob stumbled backward, shaking his head. No, this can't be happening, Emily, please." But the officers already had him by the wrists, cuffs clicking shut. Madison collapsed in her satin gown, sobbing hysterically as her mascara streaked down her cheeks. And me. I stood at the altar, bouquet in one hand, folder in the other, my white dress glowing under the chandeliers. My wedding had just become a courtroom, and I had delivered the verdict. The ballroom looked nothing like a wedding anymore. The string quartet's instruments lay abandoned, champagne flutes shattered on the floor, and every single guest was standing. 200 faces turned toward me as if waiting for a judge to deliver a sentence. And in a way, that's exactly what I was. Jacob stood cuffed between 2 officers, his once perfect tuxedo rumpled, sweat dripping down his temples. Madison knelt sobbing on the marble steps, mascara streaks carving black rivers down her cheeks. Their fall from grace was complete. I took a step forward, bouquet still in my hand, my voice calm and clear. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my eyes sweeping over the crowd, "I want to apologize. You came here today expecting a wedding. Instead, you got the truth." A ripple of murmurs passed through the room. Phones still streamed live, capturing every word. "You all saw it with your own eyes," I continued. "The lies. The betrayal. The theft. Jacob Miller was never the man he pretended to be. Madison Clark was never the friend she claimed to be. And today, I refuse to bind my life to either of them." I slipped the engagement ring off my finger. The diamond that had once symbolized forever now glittered like a cheap lie in my palm. With one sharp motion, I dropped it to the marble. The sound of it clattering echoed louder than any vow could. Then silence. I looked Jacob in the eye one last time. "Marrying you would have been the mistake. Today I choose justice. Today I choose myself." For a heartbeat, the room was frozen. And then, a single pair of hands began clapping. My grandmother. Slow, deliberate, powerful. Then my father joined. Then my sister. Within seconds, the entire ballroom thundered with applause, voices rising in cheers. To them, I wasn't a broken bride. I was the woman who turned betrayal into justice. And as the officers led Jacob and Madison out past the stunned guests, I stood taller than I ever had in my life. Because the verdict was in. And I had won. By the next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Clips of my wedding, the interruption, the recordings, the arrests, were everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, even the evening news. The hashtags #Miami wedding scandal and #bride who fought back were trending worldwide. Strangers messaged me from across the globe. "You're my hero. I wish I had your courage when my ex cheated." This story gave me the strength to walk away. In one night, I'd gone from the bride left at the altar to the bride who chose herself. But the internet wasn't the only thing changing. Within weeks, I sold the apartment Jacob and I had shared, paid off every debt Madison had dumped in my name, and moved to Austin, Texas. I bought a little house with a garden where my golden retriever, Luna, now chases butterflies every morning. I finally booked the trip I'd dreamed of for years, backpacking through Spain and Italy, eating gelato for breakfast, salsa, dancing under foreign skies. No Jacob. No Madison. Just me. And somewhere along the way, I rediscovered who I was without them. Not half of a couple. Not a friend's shadow. Just Emily Carter. A woman who knows her worth. The interviews came next. Local TV, national talk shows, even a book deal. People wanted to hear my story not because it was messy, but because it was powerful. Because it proved you can turn betrayal into fuel. Pain into strength. And every time someone asked if I regretted how public it had all become, I gave the same answer. No. Because choosing justice over silence didn't just save me. It showed others they could do the same. So yes, my wedding day went viral. But my life, that's just beginning. You know, weddings are supposed to be about love, trust, and new beginnings. Mine turned into a courtroom. Spectacle. Scandal. But here's what I want you to remember. What I learned the hard way. Red flags don't disappear just because you ignore them. If someone lies once, they will lie again. If a friend crosses boundaries, they'll keep crossing until you stop them. For months, I told myself little things didn't matter. The late nights, the secretive texts, the lipstick smudges, the pregnancy test box. My heart wanted so badly to believe everything was fine, that I silenced the alarms in my head. Don't do what I did. Don't silence your instincts. Because when you choose to see the truth, when you choose yourself, you gain something no betrayal can ever take away. Your worth. And trust me, the most important person in your love story will never be your partner, or your best friend or anyone else. Has to be you. So build a life you're proud of. Stand up when you're wronged. And never, ever let anyone convince you that you're worth less than the truth. And if this is your first time here on our channel, subscribe. 'Cause there are more stories like mine. Stories that prove betrayal can be survived, and justice can be claimed. Now tell me in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Because no matter where you are, remember, you deserve honesty. You deserve love. And most of all, you deserve yourself.